It's 2022 and OLED's still king, right? Right? LG's new C2 Evo OLED is arguably the brand's bread and butter when it comes to their OLED displays. While it's not their flagship, chances are if you are shopping for an OLED from LG, you are eyeing a C2. Available in sizes ranging from 42 inches on up to 83, the C2 proves there is an OLED for everyone, from gamers to die-hard home theater enthusiasts. But until recently, truly large OLED displays have been a bit cost prohibitive due to either manufacturing costs or fragility. And while video files are very quick to proclaim OLED displays as the best, their Achilles heel has always been size. The 83-inch C2 OLED seen here is the largest OLED display that I have personally ever seen. The C2 is a native 4K display with a refresh rate of 120 Hz. You'll get that smooth motion regardless of source material, making the C2 an ideal candidate for gamers who enjoy first-person shooters like Call of Duty. It has LG's new 5th generation A9 processor for sharp, rich imagery, be it native or upscaled, and according to LG is up to 20% brighter than the previous model. The C2 supports both HDR and Dolby Vision content as well as Dolby Atmos, courtesy of its 4 HDMI 2.1 ports. The C2, like most modern smart displays, comes with numerous apps like Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon Prime Video pre-installed. It also has voice assistant support, courtesy of Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa. For a more detailed breakdown of just everything the C2 has to offer, be sure to check out the links in the description. The C2's design and build quality is exceptional. While I typically prefer OLED, we love a big, bright TV, which is why the 85-inch Sony X95J has been our reference for the past year. But now that OLEDs are more commonly available in larger sizes, not to mention lower prices, the decision over which to buy becomes a little more difficult. Now, I love the image the C2 can achieve, but out of the box, this TV is two things: wildly inaccurate and dim, especially in its default APS or eco-friendly picture profile. Measuring a delta E of about 15, the C2 is one of the poorest measuring displays, again, out of the box, that we have encountered. The vivid profile is the brightest out of the box, with a real-world brightness of just over 350 nits with SD content and upwards of about 700 nits of peak brightness in HDR, which isn't bad, though when cross-checking my figures with that of other reviews, it would appear that the larger 83-inch model is just a little bit dimmer than the C2's 75 and 65-inch variants. Within the menus, you're going to find a number of dynamic contrast and brightness settings that can have a profound effect on the display. Engaging these, especially in their highest settings, is going to cost the TV some of its otherwise awesome dynamic range. In other words, to achieve the brightest possible image, be it in SD or HDR, you can expect to sacrifice black level detail and maybe even absolute black itself. Put the C2's dynamic contrast and brightness options in any setting other than off or low, and you can see the image get progressively brighter and dimmer as a scene plays out. While the C2 isn't as bright as, say, Samsung's flagship mini LED, the QN900B we just reviewed, it is still bright enough to enjoy both standard and HDR content, including Dolby Vision, at reference caliber levels with the dynamic aids turned off or at least set to low. For the best out-of-the-box results, in other words, without calibration, use the Cinema, Filmmaker, or ISF expert profiles. Of the three, Cinema and Filmmaker have the most accurate grayscale and color performance, with a delta E or margin of error hovering around 5. Both profiles have a slight red-green bias, so white values in skin tones are going to appear warmer and a little bit more reddish green compared to the overly blue-dominant color palettes of the Eco and Vivid profiles. Now, thankfully, the C2 can be calibrated to absolute perfection. Using the Filmmaker profile as my baseline, I got to a delta E of well below 1 with respect to grayscale and color, which is technically perfect, with any and all errors falling well outside human perception. The C2 even bested Samsung's QN900B in terms of accuracy, which is saying something, though the Samsung is far easier to calibrate, that even a novice can do it using their smartphone, whereas the LG forces you to rely on traditional meters and software, both of which are third-party extras. Of course, you can always hire a professional to do it for you, something I highly recommend with the C2 if you aren't able to do it yourself. Post-calibration, the C2 is an absolute tour de force and among the best displays I have ever seen or tested. The picture is cinematic AF. The C2 looks more organic, more true to life than that of Samsung's reference LED, the QN900B. While brightness matters, there's just something about the presence of too much light that can make images appear artificial. So while the Sammy is sharp as a knife with excellent contrast and black level and color rendering, it never fully steps into the realm of real, which is where the LG shines. The Samsung is akin to great CGI, whereas the LG is all practical effects. Skin tones look especially natural, with terrific real-world contrast and detail with little to no artificial enhancements being visible. Post-calibration colors are bang on, and I mean bang on. Contrast within the colors themselves is impressive as long as you turn off all of the dynamic contrast aids. With these settings in their off position, the gradation from light to dark is just seamless. Then of course there is the presence of true, absolute black. While a lot of newer LED-backed LCDs can achieve true black when viewing test patterns, watching real-world content is often a different story. The C2, provided you have calibrated the image properly and have not set the black level slider too high, possesses absolute black when viewing both test patterns and real-world content. Of course, blooming and local dimming is a non-issue when it comes to OLED, which matters, especially when watching fast-moving scenes involving both light and dark objects, like those in the climactic battle of Episode 9 of the Orville. Motion is as smooth as silk, even when watching sports broadcasts upscaled to 4K from 720p. Motion and upscaling artifacts were kept to an absolute minimum, with any artifacts likely being the fault of the truly craptastic broadcast signal and not the TV's processing. And while I doubt hardcore gamers will spring for the 83-inch here, the C2 nevertheless is a treat to game on. And while my brother and professional gamer, joystick gamer on YouTube by the way, conceded that he preferred the brightness of the Sammy when gaming over that of the LG, the motion and response time of the C2 was equal to that of the costlier Samsung. Neither of us had any issues gaming at 4K 120 via either the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. The C2 proves that OLED is serious about being a viable home theater option now that sizes greater than 80 inches are available at obtainable prices. I'm not suggesting that the C2 is cheap, but it is a far cry from what even a 75-inch OLED would have run you a year or two ago. In many respects, some of the most comparable OLED TVs from the likes of Samsung and Sony still limit you to 65 inches. While the C2 may not be as big as our previous reference, the 85X95J, or the upcoming TCL 98-inch behemoth, truth be told, when the lights are down and your sound is all dialed in, those extra few inches, they fall by the wayside. The LG sucks you in because nothing about its image screams anything but perfection. But it's not all kittens and rainbows. The C2 uses LG's Magic Wand remote, and if you watch my TV reviews, you know that I am not a fan. If you like it, you like it, and that's all I'm going to say. Same goes for using the internal apps via WebOS. Not unlike the Samsung, the C2's operating system is bogged down by bloatware, which can make navigating the internal apps a chore. In this instance, I recommend using a third-party device, like say an Apple TV or NVIDIA Shield, for best results. Moving on to the C2's internal speakers, they're pretty good. They won't replace a soundbar or a dedicated system, but for casual viewing, they do the job. We didn't experience any handshake issues, though, strangely enough, the LG wanted to label all of our receivers Marantz, no idea what that's about, and they called our hi-fi Rose streamer a Vizio. Again, no clue as to why. It doesn't affect performance, it's just something to be aware of. My biggest complaint has to do with color uniformity, specifically how it handles white values as you move off axis or when the image on screen is just too static, which results in cooler whites over time. Now, I get that this is likely one of the ways that LG protects the panel for better longevity, but it can be annoying. When watching most content, this isn't that noticeable, but nevertheless, it can and does happen. Also, in 2022, the C2 really should be more accurate out of the box, or at a minimum, easier to calibrate. In terms of comparisons, we are still waiting for the new Samsung OLED, so I can't say how good or bad it is compared to the LG. That said, I don't consider it to be comparable here, as Samsung limits you to 65 inches, and for that reason and that reason alone, I'm picking the C2, given that I believe bigger is better when it comes to TVs and home theater. As for Sony's new OLED models, same story. Haven't seen them, so I can't comment. However, If we are talking about Sony's now generation-old Master Series OLED, the A90J that we reviewed in 2021, the C2 appears to be as good, if not better, when comparing measurements, and that's against the 65-inch model. Considering an 83-inch C2 is currently cheaper than the now older Sony of the same size, the LG gets the nod. Compared to our reference X95J from Sony, the C2 is king. Nothing against our Sony, I still love it and would recommend it to anyone looking for a truly big screen capable of reference level picture quality for less. Just don't wait too long to pick one up, as that model has been discontinued and getting harder to find. But if perfection is the goal, the C2 is where you should be looking. Well, you may not think it, especially if you don't make it past the titles of our past videos and maybe some of my more candid remarks and other TV reviews. I am a fan of OLED. The reason I have been critical of in the past has had nothing to do with OLED's picture quality and everything to do with its price and size limitations. While an 83-inch C2 OLED from LG is by no means cheap, it is more competitive than ever. And at this size, it's capable of recreating a truer cinematic experience with an image that I have just never seen sitting in a movie theater. Could this be our new reference? Well, only time will tell, but for now, the LG is definitely in the lead. So that's it. That is now my review of LG's 83-inch C2 Evo OLED. Come on, Kristi, give it to me.
Okay. The word that most comes to mind when I think about the C2 is potential.
Oh, okay.
I absolutely love this TV now.
Now.
Yes, now. The
Okay.
picture is outstanding, and I think for an OLED at this size, it's very competitively priced.
Yes.
Zero problems recommending it. You hear the but coming, right?
Yeah, there's always one.
Yeah. That said, when we first got this TV, I honestly wanted nothing more than just put the Sony right back up on the wall. Because, wow, it took some doing.
Yeah.
The C2 out of the box, I hate to say it, it looked washed out. The colors were not accurate. And honestly, I did not have very high hopes. And I know how much time you personally, someone that you know the ins and outs of TVs, even if you've never, experienced that particular model.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just knowing how much time that you had to spend playing with all the settings to get the TV to look this way. I'm personally, and I think you kind of touched on this in your part of the review. I'm concerned that the average consumer will simply not have the patience nor the understanding of what it is going to take to get the most out of this TV. Yeah. And statistically, they're totally unlikely to hire a professional calibrator. I mean, they just don't. If they can even find one, which, that's something a lot of our viewers have told us they have trouble with. They can't find somebody in their area that can do it.
Yeah.
Now, all that said, if they're able to calibrate this television with the proper tools or, with the help of a pro, I think people will be very, very happy with this TV.
Absolutely.
But if they don't, have the patience or the help of somebody that knows what they're doing, I just worry they're going to get frustrated. They're going to return it for something else. And it's just going to, they'll just join the cult of people that just love to hate on LG, or ISP or panels or, all.
Well, this doesn't fall into that.
Right.
Argument,
but, there's.
I get it. I get it.
The faction of people that just, love hating on LG. Anyway, so that said, do you have something to say?
Yeah. I mean, yes, we know that statistically people don't calibrate their displays, and I don't mince words. This is one of the worst displays in terms of accuracy that I've seen in a very long while out of the box. That said, I think the prevailing thought about OLED is that it's pretty dim or dark compared to LED. And I think a lot of people out of the box are going to find this TV to look very bright. And that's probably going to win them over. So they're going to feel really good. Like, I have a OLED, and OLED's the best, and look how bright it is. And they may just stop there. What took the longest in figuring out this TV's quirks was just how far and how much of the dynamic aids I could use without affecting its otherwise accurate capability. Because in the high and medium settings on adaptive contrast, active contrast, tone mapping, things like that, it just it just crushes everything. And so you have to find the balance and experiment quite a bit with, I can have this on, but this off, this on, but that on, so it's not easy. And I don't understand why LG, in my opinion, consistently makes some of the best TVs and displays on the market in any given time, but they make you work for it. I have the same complaint about our old LG 8K LED that I loved. I loved this TV, and nothing to this day has made me angrier during our time on this channel than when I broke it. I fat fingered it and cracked the screen. That TV was bloody brilliant, and all of you took me to task in the comments for liking it, but I guarantee you, you weren't looking at that display calibrated, because I agree with you, out of the box, crap. Calibrated, amazing. And the same story here with the C2. If LG could employ something like what Samsung has done with their smartphone calibration, game over.
I totally agree.
Game over.
And that was something that's in my notes. I really wish that they had the tech to do that, because
I think they do.
Because look, the reality is people are going to buy a TV, they're going to get it home, they're going to put it on the wall, and that's it. Or they're going to come to a channel like this and beg for you to give them their settings, which no, we're not going to do, because it's not going to make a difference. The panels may not be the same,
It's not going to translate. And what I don't want you to do, while my settings have a delta E of less than 1, which is amazing, it is possible I could give you the exact same settings and you could go to the exact same TV, or you could go to a 65-inch or 75-inch. And while it may look better, I want to stress this, while it may look better, it may not meet the standard for calibrated. And so either you're going to go out and tell people it's calibrated, or worse, tell people it's calibrated by me. And then maybe a pro comes in down the line and goes, this ain't calibrated. That's a real problem. And I don't want to lead or mislead anyone in that way. But as we found out with this particular set, the 83, at least with respect to white and light output, does appear to be a little bit different than the 65 and 75-inch models, which is another reason why we try and bring you the bigger sets instead of the same things that everyone else reviews. But I'm sorry, I really want to throw that out there, because I think people think that we're being cagey or misleading people, and it's like, it has nothing to do with that. I just don't want to be in an actionable position with you guys feeling like you're getting something that may not translate.
Just keep that in mind when you're asking those kinds of questions.
Yeah.
Now, as far as any preferences that I may have, I would rather have the LG, the C2 here, than the Samsung that we just reviewed. I personally believe that the color rendering, once calibrated
on the C2,
on the C2, is far more natural and real looking to me. I mean, the brightness of the 900B is otherworldly, but like you said, I think it just creates this more artificial looking image. So I prefer the C2. And personally, I just think it makes more sense to me financially, considering the 85-inch version of the 900B will run you a couple of $1,000s more. Yeah. It's kind of a no-brainer.
You are getting 8K on the 900B though, whereas the C2 is 4K.
Okay, well so that can
explain
that makes a difference.
Some of the price increase, but I'm with you. But I also agree with many of you in the comments of our Samsung videos saying that you can always take brightness down. You can't always add brightness, which is the case with something like, say, a C2 OLED. It is as bright as it's going to be at maybe 700 nits or so.
Yeah, but also we only had the 65-inch version of that particular TV.
The Sammy.
Yeah, the Samsung.
75.
So, was it 75?
It was a 75.
Okay.
We had the 75.
There could be a difference though if you go up to 85.
There absolutely could be, as we found out in the previous generation that we bought. No one was complaining about 65 or 75-inch flagship Samsungs a year ago, But we found that when you jump up to the 85, there were actually some problems.
Yeah.
So
as far as this or the Sony,
our current Sony?
Yeah, the X95J. I mean, look, guys, I love that television.
Yeah.
She
really does.
It's freaking awesome.
She loves that TV.
It's so good. And like, yeah, you pull it out of the box, put it on the wall. It works. It looks great. It doesn't need a lot of fussing.
It really doesn't.
Like Andrew said, you can get one. You can get an 85-inch for just a little over $3,000 right now. I'll put a link in the description.
Yeah.
Because it's not available everywhere. FYI.
They're starting to sell out.
Yeah, and once they do, you won't be able to get one.
Yeah.
So I think that if you're looking to save some money, it's a great TV, and I would still recommend it. But I love this LG. I mean, you and I have had this discussion multiple times since we've gotten it and started filming it for other reviews.
Yeah.
It photographs unlike anything I think we've ever had.
Yeah, I think in the wide shots, it's kind of hard to tell when we've switched to the LG over the Sony because, let's face it, all TVs from a distance, physically, like design-wise, with these minimal bezels and everything, there's nothing that really stands out that would clue you in that you're looking at one display over the next. But if you do have a keen eye and you go back maybe in the last 4 or 5 videos at this point and you're like, oh, wait, something does look different, that's because we switched to the OLED. And it is, it's so pretty.
It's really pretty.
It's so pretty in video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, I like I said, to wrap things up, if they could come out with some way, and I don't know if you could do this in a firmware update, but some way to calibrate it on your own.
Yeah.
You know, for a user to calibrate it on their own.
Yeah.
It would be. I don't think they could make them fast enough.
Yeah, if they reverse engineered whatever Samsung does and Apple has now with their smartphones, that would be
Game changer.
Game changer. All right, that is now our review of LG's C2 Evo OLED 83-inch edition. What did you guys think? Let us know down in the comments below. Question of the day, you guys saw this one coming. What's best, OLED or LED? Fight. I should insert the clip of in Godzilla, let them fight.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Go ahead and ring that bell so that you're notified when new videos come out. If you use any of the links that Kristi diligently leaves for you down in the description, know that that's a great way that you've continued to show your support for this channel and the work that we do here. Same as leaving us a super thanks or becoming a member. Again, great ways to support the channel, along with hitting the like button and subscribing. About 60 or so % of you watching this video right now, or have watched this video, and I'm talking to no one because it's 20 minutes in, are not subscribed. So subscribe. Follow me on Instagram too, at Recovering Audiophile, and that's it for us today. So remember, the only person who has to like the sight or sound of your system is you. So happy listening, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next video.